Hello, good evening, everyone. It's Do You Expect to Talk episode. I completely forgot what the episode number is. That's how much I do
Yeah.
not
Given we
host.
don't count, well, we don't count Christmas and commentaries,
Yeah,
non-canon stuff and specials, but numbered episodes, this is 258, I think.
258. Yes. So it's Do You Expect to Talk. Book review. Yeah, we was last time we did Casino Royale, and that
It feels like a
was
long time ago now.
it was over a year. It was
Yeah,
at
it
least.
was. Yeah, it was.
We've been really
And that was
bad with this,
we did
but
them. Well, yeah, we've had good reasons to be away, but yeah, it's about 18 episodes ago.
yeah, because I remember listening prep for this, like the audiobook, when my daughter was still like in a pram. So I remember pushing the pram while listening to "Live and Let Die."
She's
Spoiler
23 now. She's just
So
graduated.
yeah,
yeah,
she's she's a little toddler now.
yeah. Um, well, it's great having the extra income now. It's great.
Mm.
uh, but yeah, no. So that's how long ago. Now she's like up walking around. So it's
Mm.
She's a
yes,
little lady.
yes, indeed. So we are doing "Live and Let Die," the second James Bond book. Becca, what are your? Should we just get straight into it? Becca, what are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
sure.
Oh gosh, yeah, yeah. Luckily, obviously, this isn't a movie, so yeah, as those that you haven't got to introduce the cast or that kind of thing. So yeah, this was obviously the second. So, Casino Royale, hugely popular. I think the series kind of really would definitely take off. When is it From Russia with Love? Kennedy at the time said that was in one of his top 10 novels ever.
Yeah, so yeah, and it just rocketed up the book charts, didn't it?
It really did. It really did. But I
Yeah.
think with this one, so, it obviously kind of hit the nail on the head. And then Fleming would obviously go and do a Bond novel per year, basically, until his death in '64. And the likes of Golden Gun, etc., were published posthumously there. But yeah, this is the second one in the series. Comparative to the film, obviously there are some similarities and some differences in that as well. Also, sort of the villain is sort of very, largely similar. There are some aspects of it which I think inform later on the books. So like there's the sort of the death scene. I'm pretty sure went on to influence the film version of For Eyes Only, for example. There are also elements of this book which we'll see later on in the movie of License to Kill, for example, as well. Who disagreed with something that ate him, sort of death by shark. Um, Leiter, for example, as well, how he kind of ends up, spoiler alert. Um, Also, just as an offshoot, Rain Benson has come out with a new book, The Hook and the Eye, which is a sort of a continuation novel, but set in sort of the Felix Leiter universe. He's a protagonist, though, so I highly recommend it. Please do check it out. It goes kind of deep, dark, bit of a dive into like his injuries as well, and how he adapts in kind of like sort of like 40s, 50s America. So that's really interesting. But if you need more Felix in your life, highly recommend Rain Benson's Hook and the Eye novel, available now.
When
And yeah, it's my
Felix goes to the Paralympics.
that would be cool actually. I might suggest that to him. Um, but yes, living like that. So yeah, my first thoughts really. I will preface this by saying I read this a long time ago when I was first getting into the Bond books. A lot of obviously he uses a lot of language, which is perhaps quite prevalent at the time. I won't say it, but like N-word things like that, which is obviously in common parlance when Fleming was writing, but now slightly offensive. So recent to read this in prep for this podcast, I picked up the newer version of the book, published by IFP, released last year. Let me just find out. I've got it here in front of me. We do 2023, sorry, which has a lot of that taken out. It's replaced by other words or just scrubbed completely, which is really interesting. So I thought, right, let's go back and compare and contrast. Also, there was a lot of controversy about those novels when they came out, how they've been put through sensitivity readers, and how like a lot of the sexism and racism and everything have been taken out. Kind of not the case. Sort of spelling errors, typos, things like that. In this instance, is probably perhaps the most prolific. There's a lot of instances of the N word that has been removed. But no, I don't know if it's possible to enjoy this novel. It's really fast paced. Bond as a character, yeah, is sort of hard living, hard drinking. You can see how he internalizes a lot of kind of what he really goes through. His feelings for Solitaire, relationship towards it, for example, very different from the film. Mr. Big, I think, is quite a terrifying villain. It's really physically imposing. One thing I do like about this novel is how Fleming goes into the backstory of his villains. They're sort of really fleshed out, quite interesting, complex characters. Obviously, in the films, they could argue that perhaps they are a bit stereotypical almost. Certainly in the film version of Live and Let Die, could argue a bit of stereotyping there, but we mentioned that in our review a while ago.
And it's another one of those Bond films. Sometimes less is more, but it was one of those when we reviewed it, a little bit like The Man with the Golden Gun and one or two others, where the villain's not in it as much as you remember him being.
No, that's it. Yeah, I kind of thought, oh, that's probably my one big takeaway. He could have done with a little bit more of Mr. Big, but then he is so big. Maybe have more, maybe probably take over the novel, definitely.
Well, the film is like a completely different character. Like Mr. Big is actually,
It's Kananga, yeah, definitely.
Whereas Mr. Big is almost like a modern Baron Samedi, which
he's
again is a third different
gangster,
character.
but he's got this the voodoo offshoot. I mean, Samedi does kind of feature as well, but perhaps not in the way I would say. Like voodoo,
Samedi's more of a sort of ancient myth, isn't he?
He's sort of a witch, myth, kind of witch doctor almost. But I would probably say like voodoo is its own character in the book. That sounds really silly. It's like saying a location is a character, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I absolutely know what you mean, and we'll get into some of the differences, and I won't obviously go on with some of the differences in a minute, Becca. I just want to come in on that point about what about this book is offensive and not, because I'd really like us to address it at the start, so we're not talking about it all the way through, because it will be unlistenable then. So, the N word that ends in ER is used once or twice. The word that ends in RO is used very, very frequently every time they refer to somebody black or the community or sub-communities or different countries. That in and of itself is the RO word I remember my dad's mum using because she thought that was a respectful word like 40 years ago. So that's not so bad. It's more the general attitudes.
Attitudes towards it.
The characters express ill-disguised surprise when somebody black is really good at something, or when a black lady's driving a car, or well, they're doing quite well at some things. It's amazing, they're treated like a completely different species to us.
Yeah, the mind boggles slightly.
But it spread. But just the last thing on Fleming's app, I honestly thought when I thought back on the book afterwards, it would have been more realistic to Fleming's attitude that when M says to Bond, right, you're on your way to America, he'd gone, oh, well, that'll be shit, won't it? Because although Fleming clearly has some interest in the place, the food's crap, apparently. When they get a good meal, it's like, well, a rare example. The breakfast is shit. The coffee's shit. The people are,
He's famously a snob, though, isn't he? He's such a snob.
Only talk to people in less than 2 syllables. And high and sure is all you need. So it's a bit they're a bit thick. It's last in class. Their cars are shit as well, apparently.
Well, to be fair, that scene, like Felix does advise Bond, obviously, because obviously he becomes this character and kind of puts on this front for Bond. Basically, because obviously he's going to being in New York, he's going to stick out like a sore thumb. But yeah, he's basically saying, just don't say actually, which Bond says is not my vocabulary. Just basically say, yep, nope, just stick to basic 1-syllable words. And that's on Felix's advice.
I remember when I read it years ago, I was talking to somebody about it afterwards, and like I say, come back in on this, Becca, and Chris, weigh in with your thoughts as well. I remember saying 2 things without remembering all the details of what I thought, but it all came flooding back to me today. I remember saying that the language is the language. Some of it, the ER word has never been acceptable, but the RO one, I don't know is the honest answer. But
Spanish word for black.
It was, well, yeah, I know you can say it in Spain if you speak in Spanish, obviously. Although I have seen Americans posting on social media, you ought to change that. It's like, it's literally my bloody name.
Can't be helped.
But it was more, I remember saying to somebody back when I was 20, 22, whenever it was, I read it, and I said, it's more his observations about the black man or the black community.
Yeah, so it's more the attitudes around it, really, isn't it?
That's more offensive. And his attitudes to America read quite funny now because of like the current sort of climate in the world. But it is ill disguised. It's all a bit shit, isn't it? And the only mitigation is even the place. But the only mitigation is he has a clear and obvious, genuine love for Felix Leiter. So he doesn't hate all Americans, but there's just this snobby
No, he
disdain
just
all the way
looks down
through
his
it.
nose at like the food and the
You know,
culture and
breakfast
everything
arrives.
else.
You know, he orders breakfast. They eat it the next morning. Breakfast was predictably awful. You know,
Well,
it's like,
if you look at kind of what's being offered, it's one of those things like if you go to America, you do expect kind of like burger. I mean, I'm vegetarian, so I wouldn't eat it, but it's like you do get a lot of, a lot of food like for your money, sort of like broccoli, burgers, fries, lobster, for example. I mean, it seems to me they obviously this is very much post-war, eat quite well, definitely.
no,
But
but I mean,
yeah,
he's eating mainly scrambled eggs, or as Bond sometimes calls
exactly.
it, quiche.
Yes, not an omelette, no. But this is a guy who's used to eating, figs, yogurt, coffee very black,
He eats quite simply at home, though, and he's having a lot of the same stuff he has at home. It's like bacon
he
and eggs and
does.
stuff. But just the last thing on it, though, is
A
because
snob.
we'll go through the differences as we go through it. But I just wanted to address that whole business of the tone and the offensiveness of it. I always said that yes, the world might well have been more racist back then, but I honestly believe there's a class snobbery in this as well that would not necessarily have been typical. I mean, go and look. I know America was very different because of segregation and stuff, but look at when things like When to Kill a Mockingbird were written. There were more enlightened attitudes around than this. But that's the last thing I'm going to say on sort of tone and attitude, unless we get to specific examples, of course.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was like, it's like in terms of like the snobbery kind of element, it was like I wondered if it was like if he was in like another part of New York or another part of America, would it still have that that element? Because it seems to be like a
What,
lot of
like
it
a
was like,
white bit? He's
well,
in Harlem. Yeah.
yeah, do you know what I mean? Like the thing that always stands out because it's so atmospheric. Because what actually one of the things I thought was it's actually you can actually see yourself in there in his description. He's in that sort of little diner you have to get off the
Yeah.
train, and it's just you just feel like the
Unlike the film, there's no New Orleans. It's a bit of Harlem and a bit of St. Petersburg, Florida.
In Florida. Yeah,
but
I've been there
And before
apparently.
they go to Jamaica, there is no San
but but
Monique or
you,
whatever
but
it's
you can
called.
just feel like the grime and the grease, and you think you like it's probably in the middle of nowhere, and it's kind of like
That's a
probably
good
it.
point, Chris. Yeah, I do kind of feel it is kind of very grimy, very greasy. You kind of get the sense. I mean, if you read like thrilling cities, obviously some cities he doesn't find so thrilling. Um, but yeah, I mean, another thing about Fleming is obviously he's famously very sort of descriptive, um, and you kind of really get a sense of these places, don't you? I think it's kind of to a certain degree, perhaps later on in his era, perhaps less and less so. It's like, oh, a chair is a chair, a table is a table. But you really get a sense of place as well. Like you can feel that obviously Bond is a massive snob, and he doesn't like America, but you really learn why. Um, and yeah, I kind of feel you do kind of feel like that the grit and the grit and
There's
the grime
one
of the
bit
city.
where I sort of understood it because there's a bit in when they're in St. Petersburg or going to Tampa. I think it's towards when he's sort of leaving to go to Jamaica, and he's driving down the street, and it wouldn't be the same street you get now because things modernize very fast. But there's no doubt there are some American cities where it's just endless sort of dual carriageways with intersections with fast food on the corners and not a lot else until you get right into the downtown area. And
Mm.
I think that sort of soullessness I sort of got. But yeah, it doesn't really matter to the overall plot, but this book will offend some people. It's not for everyone. You have to take it in the time that it's written. But I imagine even at the time, I would imagine it wouldn't have been many years after this that it started to read problematic.
Was this being set obviously in Florida as well? Obviously, again, St. Petersburg, for example. I went to Disney when I was about very little. 4 or 5, I seem to think. I can't remember. My abiding memory is going to Epcot Center, meeting Minnie Mouse, and then having a meltdown because my buggy was stolen. But yeah, obviously that opened until the early 70s. But going to Beats, obviously, I think it was kind of very that sort of stage. Sort of Disney was very much like a germ in the in the idea of the park as well. So this is obviously years before the park would open, which I think kind of brought a lot of development like to the area definitely as well. But yeah, I think that's kind of a lot of how it was. I mean, certainly going on a recent trip to like Las Vegas, and they did sort of towards the tail end of last year. How much of it has changed since Diamonds Are Forever in the 70s until today? I mean, a lot of it still can look similar, but it's just so much, so much development and so much has built up around the various landmarks that you see in the film, to the point where the strip has perhaps changed beyond all recognition. I mean, much of the strip is now undercover, which even it wasn't when I last visited early mid 2000s at all. So it just goes to show how much rapid expansion and change.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Especially if you do sort of like a driving holiday sort of in the States, like a lot of it will be like it'll just be quite flat. You get the odd kind of like service station along the way. Perhaps very little in many aspects, very little has changed at all. But certainly in sort of Florida or St. Pete's and that kind of area, I think probably Disney was perhaps the upstart of it all, I guess. But I need to do some more research. I'm sure there are Disney fans are going, no, that's not how it goes.
Disney's not that close to St. Petersburg either.
No, I'll double check with my parents, but I think we stayed there because I think it wasn't in the resort. But it's described. Fleming does describe it as like sort of like a pleasure beach, pleasure resort. But I think when I went with my family all those years ago, we stayed at St. Pete's. I think because it was off the resort. I think it might have been cheaper, probably.
I thought it wasn't. I thought it wasn't that close.
Honestly, can't remember.
Got my geography wrong.
Unfortunately, I've not been back since. I've been to the California one. I've been to Euro Disney, Disneyland Paris, but I've never been back to Florida, unfortunately. But maybe it is now. I don't know, but perhaps not in the late 80s, early 90s when I went. I actually can't remember. But anyway, that's what had significance for me. The name of St. Pete's, for me, it has associations with Disney, which of course the park really wasn't built till the 70s.
So basically, Becca Bond should have gone to Disney World.
Yes, he should have done. Wasn't there a disused script where Bond would have gone to Disney? Luckily, that didn't happen.
They're about 90 miles apart, which in American terms isn't that far, I guess.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
A stone's throw.
In British terms, we'd be moving house, but
yeah, it's just over the road, Everything's so far apart.
Yeah. Okay. I actually thought Walt Disney World is not quite where I thought it was, or put more accurately, Orlando's a bit further sort of down than I thought it was. Probably getting it mixed up with something.
American geography is fascinating. Anyway, let's get away from Disney. Sorry about that, everybody.
No.
I shouldn't have gone to Disney.
I thought St. Peter's. I had the right coast and the right side of the state, but I thought it was a little bit further down. If you look at a map,
it's a bit higher up.
There's a town or city there called Naples, and I thought it was roughly around there. So yeah, it's not. It's a bit more further up the shaft.
You were.
Misses.
Yeah. So yeah, Chris, what are your thoughts on this anyway? Before we get into some of the details and start talking about
So in terms of the book itself, I kind of enjoyed it. I think it's for me it felt very much like more of an action-ish paced book than opposed to Casino Royale. Obviously, because we all know Casino Royale is it's mostly a poker game. But apart from
Chemin de Fer.
Yeah. Chemin de Fer, Baccarat, etc., etc.
Snap.
Oh, sorry,
Buckaroo.
yes, sorry.
Buckaroo Banzai.
Yes. Oh God, I can't believe Baccarat. Yeah.
And he loved his favourite bit of the book was when Judi Dench went to see him in the Bahamas.
So obviously there's a snap game in that, and then you got the
Connect Four.
Yeah.
Connect Four Buckaroo Operation, if you remember.
Operation.
Yeah. Hungry Hippos was the tiebreak.
Yeah. But the only real action is there's a bomb, there's a car chase or a chase, and a torture scene. Relatively, whereas here it's there's
cars, gunfire, and titties.
Well, yeah, there's this fight with octopuses. There's there's swimming underwater and blowing up yachts, and also bombs. There's also sort of this there's a sequence on the train which is which is a bit tense, and
And there's
yeah,
Bond refusing to have a shag.
yeah.
Yeah, I was a little bit
He's
like,
got.
oh.
We're going to get into that because that wasn't gentlemanliness. That's performance anxiety. I think we've realised Bond's crap in bed, and that's why he keeps moving on. But more on that later.
Yes,
Yes.
more on that towards the end of the show. But it's interesting you mentioned the bomb. Obviously there's a scene very early on,
Well, there's a couple, isn't there? But
and it's like he
the
doesn't
early
know that
one,
he's been
yeah.
sent a bomb, and it's just like, huh? What?
No, it's the dumbest thing. I ended up sending both of these two. It's not directly linked, but there's a couple of episodes about 15 years apart of Only Fools and Horses, right? Where they sit at the table trying to write a film. Two completely different film ideas, two completely different setups. In one of them, they're sober, and the other one, they're getting very drunk very quickly. But it's the same principle. And the first one, the main character's idea is so daft that the other main character summarizes it and sort of says what Charlton Heston, they're a fictional lead in this, would be thinking. And I thought of that because Bond is sat there wondering why he's been sent a clock because he can hear it ticking. Then he waits, then it starts winding down, and he's like, "Oh, that's interesting. It's winding down." And then it stops, and he thinks, "Oh, well, I'm okay." Then it explodes. And it's like, all right, okay, you could have been bloody killed there, wondering why you've got an Argos fucking clock as an
Oh,
anniversary
gosh.
present or something. Yeah, it's not a retirement gift. It's obviously a bomb. And the thing is,
It's
if
it's
if
like
you,
it's that trope you always say when someone gets a package. Like, oh, why is it ticking? It's
Yeah.
it's the fact that anyone, I know I know it's decades on, and maybe we're a bit more sophisticated, maybe not. I don't know, but the idea that anyone reading that book, I was listening to it. We'll get onto that in a minute. Who did that book version and everything, but the moment it's introduced, you go, "Well, that's a bomb, isn't it?" And then it takes, I would imagine, pages, because again, I'm listening, pages to play out, and it is a bomb. And Chris, do you want to carry on with your thoughts in a minute? Because I want to talk next about the
Oh
book's
well,
pacing for me.
yeah. So I was just going to say I found it kind of more. I kind of enjoyed it. I thought it was more, uh, action orientated than the first one, which is a very different. This one felt a lot more like a pulp-y book, whereas the first one, yes, it was a pulp book, but it it kind of touches on the sort of thing you might read at school. Might be given to read at school, kind of thing. Not saying you know schools do hand out like
But
copies of Casino Royale.
When Janet and John tortured their testicles,
I can't imagine because is
which
Casino
book is
Royale on
that?
the Casino Royale is on the curriculum. I can't quite imagine
I
it.
wouldn't have
No,
thought so.
No.
no. I'm not saying it is or should be, but but what I'm saying is in
Teacher,
comparison.
what happens when you smoke 70 cigarettes a day?
That would be quite interesting. It's like one of those things where just an offshoot quickly, like a lot of obviously if you've got a young child, like obviously Chris when your little girl comes of age, or you'll be like, oh, which Bond can I introduce to her first?
And
Here's a thought for you to
it'll be
ruminate on as
Daniel
we go
Craig. The
along.
rest of them will be dead by then.
Unfortunately, yes, it probably would be. Yeah, here's something to ruminate on as we go through. What Bond book would be on the curriculum if you could introduce one, which was least offensive, or which do you think would have the most? Sorry about the noise in the background. It's our old
We'd
pipes.
have to revisit that question at the end because I know the basic plots of most of them,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't want to say, for example, I'm not saying there is, but I wouldn't want to say like Moonraker and then suddenly there's a really graphic sex scene in it I've forgotten or something like that. It wouldn't be this one
No.
unless it was like social sciences and you were sort of
The
studying cultural
Facts of Death
attitudes.
by Raymond Benson.
I
There we
love
go.
Raymond, but that is a really bad name for a book. I'm sorry. The Facts of Death.
The Union trilogy.
Yeah. Whereas 0 - 10 was brilliant. But anyway.
And so is The Man with the Red Tattoo, which I'm currently reading.
So I'll just talk about pacing, and then Becca, who will have read this a lot more than us, can obviously say what she thinks. I don't know if it's because I was expecting it to be more action heavy than a sort of largely casino based book, but I actually found it a bit wanting in pace, and I think it isn't because nothing's happening. Although, if you actually read a plot synopsis, not an awful lot does happen, but that wasn't a problem with Casino Royale, so I can't really criticise this for that. But I just found Fleming is normally very good at pacing. And from my limited knowledge of his, because an awful lot of his books I've only read once. I have read them all, though, the Bond books, obviously. Don't think I've read Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
What?
But he's very good at pacing. And if you remember the last, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 pages of Casino Royale, the moment you finish it, you want to read the next one. He builds to this like wonderful crescendo of I want to go on to the next thing, and he's really good at it. And in this, I don't know if it's because I was listening to it, and it's inherently it takes longer to listen to an audiobook than it does to read a book. Because the Kindle was saying about 4 hours, and the audiobook's like nearly seven. I actually put it on a faster speed at the
That's
end to make
interesting.
sure I'd have it done. Well, it was 6 hours 48, the audiobook. I still had.
And the Kindle kind of goes on your reading speed as well, doesn't it? It sort of it calculates
Yeah.
how
No,
fast
but
you
it
read or
gives you
not.
a typical one when you look up a Kindle book as well. And I don't know, for
That's interesting. I
argument's
wonder
sake,
why.
it does. If you look it up, it's like, let's say 4 hours. I won't be far wrong. It might be a bit less, might be a bit more.
Because both of you
This,
guys did the audiobook, didn't you?
Yeah.
yeah. And what I did was I did. I kept forgetting to get round to it. I've had other things going on, and we were going to record this week, and I missed the fact it was meant to be last night or tonight. And like yesterday, I was like, well, I haven't finished it. What I actually meant was I've barely started it. So I did about half of it yesterday, and then I had a few other things to do today. And just to make sure I wasn't like finishing it 2 minutes before we recorded, I put it on like 1.5 speed. And so and a bit faster at times. So I've got through like the last 4 hours in like 2.5. But there might be a pacing thing in that I listened to an awful lot of it. And I just found that when I was reading Casino Royale and he was describing a scene, maybe it's because it was a casino and it was, inherently a bit classier, not to denigrate America. It could have been a cinema in a cinema. I'm looking at your name on screen name, Chris. It's it isn't because it's America. It was because it was a casino. There's just something evocative about that in the first one. But the clock is a really good example, and we'll put that into context in a minute. But he's describing it forever, only for it to blow up as every bloody one of us knew from the first like second. He's very good at dropping you in and then going back to give you M's briefing that was 10 days before and things like that. That's very good. The structure of the book is fine. But then he'll get on the train and you'll just get endless, endless descriptions. And when it's food or how people like it that would feed into the wish fulfillment. But so much of it is, I went past this bit and it was depressing, and how long it takes him to like around the bars before, in the early scenes with Felix, they're just giving, he gives up, his detail is too ponderous. Now, whether it would be the same if I'd read it as opposed to listen to it, I don't know. The audiobook, the version I've got is Rory Kinnear, which in tone of voice is probably closest to Craig's delivery. But again, I tend to picture some weird variant of Connery depending on what the detail that they're discussing is. It is its own thing. I mean, at no point do I ever picture Roger Moore in something he was in.
Hmm.
I sort of enjoyed it despite itself, and the bits that were best were the bits that were familiar but different. So, when you've got all the stuff where, Felix got hurt in License to Kill, well, there's a very similar sort of couple of set pieces like that. And the differences make them interesting. It worked out pretty well. It ends in a strange place. It deepens the relationship a little bit between Leiter and Bond, just as License to Kill the film did. It's good. Its attitudes are a little bit of a problem. I'd love to actually sit and read it again, as opposed to understand whether the pacing issue was just I'm listening to it and it takes longer. It's like being read a story. Sometimes you're like, "Oh, speed it up."
Hurry up,
And
get
I
on with
just
it.
think I'm always a bit impatient, and I'm quite a quick reader as well. But I just wanted to do it this way this time because it's good practice as well. Because audiobooks take a bit of practice to listen to when it's a plot. You find yourself like 2 or 3 minutes, and you go, I haven't been listening. Shit. Um,
I'd
I
recommend
did
trying to
it,
read like different
but
versions as well, like reading the Ian Fleming version and then like an older version.
what? And then
Um,
the Jackie Collins
and then the
version.
Jackie Collins version, and then the the R-rated, the X-rated version.
Yeah. No, I just I mean I'll stop now because we'll get into the detail in a minute. I think it's fine. I seem to remember from it doesn't hold hard and fast all the way through the series, but I remember liking the first book and then the third one, and then sort of I don't know the fourth and sixth or something like that. I tended to like every other book, and I remember not liking this one. I had a bit of a better time with it today. I don't think when we eventually, if we ever eventually get to the end of all the Flemings, it will stand out as a favourite. And I'm not quite sure why that is once you switch off your sort of worry about the datedness and attitudes of it. I just think like the set pieces are quite a long way apart. They're overly described, something Fleming's normally very good at, and there's large gaps between major events in the book where if you actually break it down, nothing's happened, but it's just been endless descriptions of I walked along that street, I walked in there, descriptions of bloody Solitaire's tits because he loves talking about that. I actually looked it up because I couldn't remember it, but I was in the
I,
gym on a treadmill listening to it, and I nearly fell off it laughing because he described her hard breasts, each with its pointed stigma of desire.
Oh God,
That's how he describes nipples, right?
bloody hell.
Steamy.
Becca, you tell us about your, because you can put it into a bit more context. You know most of the books a bit better than I do, and you will have read this more often.
Okay, if you say so.
Well, you will have. Today was my second ever, and it was Chris's first.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I must say, like when I was sort of getting into the Bond and Bond novels, I don't think I read them in order. I can't remember which was my first one. I want to say Thunderball, but that might not have been the case. It was a really nice kind of library edition, not library, book club edition that my grandparents kindly picked up at a car beat for me, which is very nice. And I still got it to this day, which is quite nice. Also, shout out to Billy of Billy's Bond Up on Instagram. He's been doing posts recently about his immense book collection, Fleming Bond book collection, which is incredible. There's so many beautiful versions and editions of each book. His collection is just, it's mind-blowing. It's kind of inspired me to, I don't know, maybe get back into it, or because it's been a while since I picked up a Bond book, but I picked up a new edition of this one just for the special occasion. So thank you, Billy.
And shout out to Billy the Fish, one of Colchester Rovers' best ever goalkeepers.
There we go, that too. Chris, do you have a Billy you'd like to shout out to?
No.
Okay.
If you've got any Billies you want to shout out to us,
Billy Elliot, there you are.
Oh, there we are. Well done, yes.
One of the finest ballet dancers ever to have family
this side of Newcastle.
coal mine. Yeah.
Yeah, I read this. Obviously, I was quite young at the time, maybe sort of teenager-ish, and a lot of it kind of, yeah, so as I said earlier, sort of a lot of the language did sort of go meow, just over the top of my head a little bit. And there's some words I was like having to ask my granddad, what does this mean? What does that mean? Very old-fashioned terms. Yeah, so I've read it sort of a couple of times since, and for some reason I don't really do like the audiobooks. I'm not quite sure why. I think maybe sort of like a time might be a factor. And if I'm sort of commuting, I tend to sort of read or listen to podcasts, for example. I don't know why I don't tend to go down the audiobook route. Nothing against it. I just not on that wagon. I don't know why. And I think with my brain, the way it's kind of wired a bit differently as well, I do take forever to read. So probably the audiobooks would be quicker. But I still prefer to read and force myself through it. It's all good. I still enjoy it. I hadn't read the Flemings in a while, actually. I think it wasn't until we did a book club that I'm part of, going nearly 6 years now, started also with all the Flemings, and we've since branched out into other books, sort of fiction and non-fiction, be it related to Bond. And I think we are due to come back at the end of this year, to come back to Fleming when we return to Casino Royale. So yeah, it's been a good 4 or 5 years before I've read sort of any Fleming, unfortunately. So it's been a while since I read this one. Initial sort of reactions. It was quite interesting reading the two different versions. But yeah, I kind of found it very pacey. There were some some aspects of it where I was like, Bond, are you okay? Like not realizing that he's been sent a bomb. And at the end where he's like, oh, I wish my hands worked so I could, do various things to Solitaire. And it's like, but you have another hand? You've only got one hand that's out of action, Bond. You've got another hand. Come on. Stop, don't be a dick.
I just listened to the audiobook and it went like, Fleming also did initially write the extended bit at the end, so he adds like another sentence or two.
Oh, really?
That. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's in the audiobook.
Oh, wow.
I just listened to it and I was like, what? So after we had this conversation online, yeah. So apparently he sort of said, "What about back?" And he sort of slips his hand. Is obviously, well, I'm assuming it's a good hand. up her back, and then they kiss kind of thing. And so I think that's what she meant by back.
Yeah, that's right. I'll see if I can. Let's have
But
a
it
look.
is a bit odd.
It's coming with us on our passionate holiday, said Bond. He told her of M's cable. We're going to the house on stilts with palm trees and 5 miles of golden sand. And you'll have to look after me very well because I shan't be able to make love with anyone armed. This was open sensuality in Solitaire's eyes as she looked up at him. She smiled innocently. What about my back? She said.
Yeah, and I don't know if that means, well, A, are you
Yeah.
not? Well, I was just thinking, like, you can't make love because one of your hands isn't working. It's your non-dominant hand anyway. You're not confident in your tongue game, obviously. And if she's saying my back, is she saying, well, from behind, I'll just back into you. You don't have to grab on or anything.
No, this is it.
Or is she saying, just finish on my back? You can just use your dominant hand. You can just use your dominant hand, and then we'll go to sleep.
And that's it. Compared to like the movie of Casino Royale, where he's like, well, that's because you don't know what I can do with my little finger, you know? It's like, come on, Bond, sort it out. But you know, I'd agree, like, there's some, yeah,
He also
some,
goes, sorry, I've got one thing to add to that as well. And I'm sorry we're talking about it in all sorts of the wrong order, but I don't think we'll go that deep into the detail anyway. But just before that, when you think in the previous film, we're Bond fans of the films first, so we think of that first. If you think back to the novel, like it's in the film where she says my armor, you've stripped it from me, and that's very reflected in the book. He's fallen in love with her. He wants to leave the service. He's trying to picture a life with this woman, and he gets devastated when she starts pulling away from him slowly over a number of weeks. And in this book, at the end of it, he's going, cool, can't wait till the next 2 weeks. It's slightly different stakes, romantic stakes, isn't it?
hmm. Yeah, it's always a bit different. But yeah, there's certain aspects of this novel where I'm like, Bond, are you okay? I mean, obviously we know that, but by the time a year later the next book rolls around, it will be a new Bond girl, a new villain, a new threat, etc., etc., etc. So, and also it's a Bond trope. In the films, we rarely see, with perhaps the exception of not Tiffany Case, Sophia Trench. The Bond girls are really carried over from one film to the other. But yeah, I would say, like, in terms of, it's quite pacey. It does kind of, it rips along. It's a bit graphic. I did forget how graphic it was. I found some of like the shark scenes a bit graphic. Like Felix, for example, was quite graphic, and also Mr. Big's death scene was quite graphic. It was quite gory.
I didn't have any great issue with that.
No,
I
that's
don't.
just me being a bit of a ooh. So I went to
Yeah,
see a film recently where like a rabbit dies and I had to look away. It wasn't watership down, but I'm a bit
it was
squeamish.
if the batteries went on a vibrator. She means
Unfortunately, it's very
the
sad, very
rabbit
sad when
died.
these things happen. Um, yeah, no, it's that Hawk movie. Obviously eats a rabbit, and I just think, oh my god. Um, but yeah, a friend was like, "Oh, you got to go see it," and I was like, "Yeah, thanks for telling me about the rabbit dying. Thank you, pal." Yeah, no, it does go whip along. Yeah, and you kind of really get a sense, for me as well. The same with you, Dave, as well. The sort of relationship between like Bond, and Felix as well. Like for me, like Felix is probably one of my favorite allies. Like throughout the whole the novels and the films and that as well. It's probably one of my favorite characters. So that's why I love this new continuation novel that's come out. I think if we're to see, obviously the Bond universe has caused quite a little bit it's a bit controversial within some aspects of the Bond fandom. But the only one I'm really interested in, I would like to see more of, is probably Felix Leiter, definitely. But yeah, you get a real sense of the camaraderie between them. And like when when it seems like Felix is on his last legs, like he's not going to make it. Like you can really sense how devastated Bond is. Also, you kind of have to be, treat it objectively, and like, is very very much like his own agent, and they are, even though they're working in tandem, they are kind of still very much separate. And he tries very hard to kind of put out of his mind and be like, no, concentrate on the mission. And you can see it's really difficult, that kind of inner struggle. But you kind of get a sense of how close they are. He really is sort of brother from Langley, to use the terminology of Casino Royale movie.
He cries
yeah,
at the end, doesn't he?
it's really rare just to see him cry. I don't really know how often you see it in the books. This is probably a very rare example. And you hardly see it in the film at all, like in Bond Mike Bristol. But yeah, you don't kind of see that internalization. Obviously, maybe in No Time to Die, which was a shocker for everybody. But yeah, you kind of get a really sense that that who's lost somebody that he's really, really special. Um, and a really close ally and somebody he can trust, which is a really big issue for Bond. Um, but yeah, that's kind of like my takeaway, really. Yeah, it's quite pacey sort of action as well. Quite some gory death scenes. Yeah, due to the attitudes are a little bit cringy. I did sort of cringe my way through this. Um, very different. I mean, quite similar to the film, but also very, very different. Some scenes are starkly different. But memorable villain, I'd probably say Mr. Big does rank up there as one of the most memorable villains, I think, certainly for his death scene. But he's kind of we don't spend a lot of time with him in the novel, but when we do, it's very impactful. And he creates that big impression, excuse the pun. So yeah.
Well, just to start going into a bit of the detail, then let's talk about some of the differences. So I can't even remember what Kananga wanted in the film now, but in the book there
It
is
was
no
heroin, wasn't
Kananga.
it? He was like,
Yeah,
It is
it's
heroin
yeah,
smuggling and
yeah, that
wanting to get
makes
people
sense because
addicted and that sort
there
of
was an
thing.
awful lot of drugs in films around that era. It was quite a gritty era. Not
Yeah,
that
it was,
Dead
it
and
was
Let
also
Die was
going in with the
particularly
black
great.
exploitation sort of
it
Yeah,
thing
was
as well.
like,
absolutely.
yeah.
Here it's
Something to
well
do with
we
Captain Morgan's pirate treasure
well, we don't know
smuggling.
who it is to start with, but the gist is, and this is a bit I didn't fully understand. I might get it on rereads, but the gist of it is because the bit I don't understand is how it ends up making money. But there are gold coins all predating the year 1600, largely from Spain, a few from France, and a few different types. I see there's thousands of them, but they're mostly from Spain. Some are from France, and a handful are from Britain, and they're flooding Harlem basically. Um, and they're just being for ever greater, sold and resold for ever greater amounts, introduced to the market, and then bought at the end by a mysterious like black guy, which I always took to mean Big himself. And I'm thinking, well, are they making money of that if he's flooding it and then paying for it? Because the gist is he's a SMERSH agent, half
Spionum.
grew up in Haiti. Oh yeah, Rory Kinnear pronounces it like Sean Connery would. Schmerz. But yeah, so he's an agent.
I
I don't know
always
if
hear Pushkin, Spionum.
yeah, I do. That's how I hear it in my head. But they're flooding the market with these coins in order to make money to fund SMERSH, which is obviously the becomes Spectre in all the films. Not this film, but the early films. But it's SMERSH here. They know all of his background. We get a lot of his background. I mean, it starts with him landing at Idlewild Airport, which is now JFK, of course. And he's met by Leiter and a member of the FBI, and he's taken to like a hotel in the city. And there's a bit around all that, and getting him sort of even that him getting like stamped into the country just seems to take forever. It then goes back 10 days. We've got a load of descriptions of him having breakfast and leaving home and driving in his supercharged Bentley and all that, which I don't mind. And then he goes into M's office. The M scenes are always good in the books as well. And they sort of explain the mission. He explains all about these coins, shows him some examples. They think it's coming from Jamaica. They don't know where they were found originally. They're being sort of shipped in via well, they're not sure at the start with, I think, but we later find it's St. Petersburg, and it's taken up to Harlem, and it's funding SMERSH. They give us all the background on Big. He's a figure of greatly feared figure because voodoo's a big part of the Haitian community, and so they sort of believe he's carrying the spirit of the Baron Samedi, which isn't a separate character in this. There is a T.H. Johnson, there is a Whisper, but Mr. Big is his own character, and his real name is some strangely French Haitian name.
Yeah,
And I
which
can't remember.
stands for big. It's like
He's called Big because he was big man. The way he's described, he's got a bit of heart.
apparently his real name was Bonaparte Iglesias, which stands for big.
But I thought it was described that they kept referring to him as Big or the
Yeah,
big guy or big man, and then as he got more and more power, it became Mr. Big.
yeah,
He's an unusually big guy. His head is sort of distortedly large and almost round, and his skin. And funnily enough, I thought of the makeup in the film where he's made up to
yeah,
be
yeah,
Mr. Big and he's got the fake skin on because it's
yeah,
just I think that was just the quality of the makeup as opposed to anything else. But he is described as having a greyness,
yeah.
and that's the background really. And then I guess the next major plot point is he's in his hotel with the bomb. I have just posted to our socials. There's a rhino loose in the city because this is just as intelligently plotted. This bit. Um, yeah, we've already talked about it. Really, there's a bomb for him. Had he met Big at this point?
No, because I mean, he sees him. He clocks
Oh,
him.
he's being followed, isn't he? He keeps seeing a black woman driving a car. He's got people all over the city, hasn't he?
Yeah, this is what kind of is similar to the film, where it's
Yes, it
like
is.
where like Mr. Big has people everywhere, and it's like literally like everything's just the whole like city is almost like
On alert.
surveillance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's interesting on the in the like original version that chapter is called End Heaven, and then like in the new version, I think it's called like Seventh Avenue or something like that. But yeah, he's with those villains like Spectre. He's got people everywhere. He's got eyes on every street corner. He's got goons kind of all over the city. Really, he's clearly a very intelligent villain. Like God knows what's going on. But yeah, I was
Yeah.
kind of thinking, oh my god, there's a chapter missing, but no, it's not. It's just been retitled. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It, so yeah, it's all about them rendezvousing. The way it's explained to us is Felix is sort of heading up the sort of Central Intelligence Agency part of it on the US mainland. And because that bit of it would almost be a federal crime, he's having to report to the FBI, and Bond is sent there to do the sort of liaison and the out of America bits, sort of like when they go
yeah,
to Jamaica later on. Um, and then we've just got, I mean, they go after the bomb thing, which is just a warning. They go out for the evening, Leiter and Bond, don't they?
yeah,
And I found this bit ludicrously long as well because
They hit the
in the
town.
film, he goes to one place. Here they're going to several places, and I think they're just trying to find out. They keep asking waiters. Made me laugh because they ordered soft shell crab at the time, and we know from A View to a Kill they should have been told everything at that point. But yeah, they go around to just best spies in the world, you know. They're sat there, one with a broad English accent, and it makes me laugh because he has a crew cut, it's described, but basically they've just cut his hair a bit. He's still got the thick comber of hair, it's just slightly shorter. And then they said you're working for a British company, but you're from, I forget where they say now, for argument's sake, New England, I think it was, right? So you've got a guy with no attempt at an American accent at all, sat there with like, two white guys in Harlem, and when the waiter comes over, they're going, "Do you know Mr. Big?" I mean,
yeah.
that's why I posted that completely unrelated thing on social media because if you sit down to think about the plotting of this, it's fucking nuts, but
I
it's
mean, like,
enjoyable
I
enough.
mean, it's kind of that movie. I mean, it kind of reminds me of of the typical thing of, yeah, let's just like let rather be subtle, discreet, and tactical. It's just like, yeah, let's just rattle some cages.
I mean,
Let's
my
just like,
favorite example of that is always the Tomorrow Never Dies thing, where they spend ages like hacking into computers and putting a record in there and all the rest of it of him as this perfect banker with 10 years, right?
yeah,
And then he goes to a party and immediately goes up to Elliot and goes, "Ooh, sunk a ship adrift at sea," and all that sort of shit.
yeah,
And it's like, why did they bother building this for you? You just blown your cover.
yeah. It was just to actually get him in the building.
I guess. I suppose you could make that argument. Um, and again, if you look, I've got a plot synopsis in front of me here, and St. Petersburg is quite a way into the book, and we've only got one more set piece before we end up there. It really is quite lacking in. You guys found it pacey. I actually thought there was just huge gaps of nothing, but
Yeah,
they actually get sort of hijacked a bit like the film, very similar to the film. In the film, he has his finger threatened, doesn't he?
Yeah.
yeah,
He meets Solitaire. It's not just this sort of steel room like in the film. It's got much more of the sort of voodoo and ancient accoutrements to it. Domino is brought in. She's Haitian as well. She's been brought up on the island, so she knows what she can do. She is an empath, but she doesn't quite believe all the voodoo stuff, but she's Haitian and so it's in her. And
Yeah,
she's
I think
asked to
that's an interesting aspect that we don't see in the film, for example, that she's Haitian, she's got this ancestry and it's kind of there because it's part of a culture and she's not she's clearly being controlled
Yeah.
by
And she is being controlled.
Mr.
She's
Big.
been with him a year and she's basically his prisoner.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's very much,
Not literally.
unfortunately,
She is allowed to do. She's
she's a
on a
kept
strip
woman pretty
clock.
much, isn't she?
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And she's asked several men. This was another line that just I'd forgotten until we started talking now. There's a bit where she explains this to Bond later. She said, "For the last year, people like you have been brought into this room, and Big has asked me to look into their eyes and hold their hand or whatever, and say whether they're telling the truth." And she said, "To be honest, if I thought they had a good heart, I said they were. And if I thought they were bad, I would say they weren't. And whilst I might feel guilty that they've then been killed, they were bad people." And she said, so the majority, what did she say? It was only a small fraction of people that were executed, very few of them white. In other words, we just killed the black ones.
Mm.
You think that was partly, so with Solitaire, that was her her gift to say is not misunderstood. So she just like senses like, oh, this is a good person, this is a bad person.
Well,
But
no, because there's a bit.
Mr. Big was like, no, I
Are
want
they,
you to know if he's like, I want you
well,
to know if
she
he's
said she could see her future with Bond because she reaches out to Bond, doesn't she?
yeah.
She calls Bond at the hotel and says after they've met, basically, again, the plotting of this is nuts. The overall story is all right, but he's threatened and hurt. He has his finger broken, which obviously ruins his sex life. Um, because I don't know what about you, Chris, but if you lost the little finger on your non-dominant hand, you'd probably be a virgin, wouldn't you? Right. So anyway,
What
um,
what are you come back? Like yeah.
yeah, yeah. So we'll get onto that. But he's let go. You've been warned. We have hurt you. You be left. He's not threatened with death. He's going to be thrown in some lake or something, but it's very much he's not going to be killed. And yet he decides to go all like John McClane on the rest of them as he leaves. So he like kills a load of them and gets himself out of
Yeah.
there.
He kills Teehee.
He
He kills
does.
Teehee, who
Yeah.
does literally laugh all the time.
Yeah, he's not saved to be killed at a train later on.
It reminds me of there's an episode of the first series of Blackadder where they dress up as nuns and they have to
Yeah.
put their hands in front of the face and talk like this. And that's how Rory Kinnear does Teehee.
Yeah.
Really high pitched voice.
His voices are really strange. He drew
I,
the,
don't, I must admit, I didn't listen to all of the audiobook, but I did listen to a little bit because I think they posted it. There's a link on YouTube, so I had a quick listen on that. Kinnear's narration is brilliant. Some parts are unfortunately unintentionally hilarious. It's very skillfully done, and kudos to him for doing a book of this caliber as well. It was props to Kinnear as an actor. He can do it in the full range of voices that he does. It's fantastic. But yeah, some parts are
But
a little
but
bit unfortunately.
but Solitaire like sounds like she's coming from somewhere in Europe. Like she's
no, but Haiti was French. Haiti was French. That's why
okay.
they've both got French in their accents. Now that doesn't mean they sound like they were
Yeah, I
raised
didn't
in
really kind of get a
Paris or
sense of
Marseille.
like the French. That's just my ears rubbish anyway.
Yeah, but it's sort of Caribbean mixed with French.
Hmm,
You hear it
that's true actually.
Mr. Big is his French tinge is a bit stronger. But anyway, it doesn't matter because it's not in the physical book if anyone reads it. But yeah, he's let out and like Leiter was grabbed at the same time, but he was kicked, he was let go as well.
He blacked his way out with jazz talk.
Yeah, he did.
Jive talking.
No, no, not jive, jazz.
Jazz, oh that was it. Yeah, excuse me, do you speak jazz?
So he'd go up to them and go like, "Great, really great."
Nice.
What do you think of jazz?
Nice.
Crazy.
Nice.
It's a nice little sort of character trait with Felix because it's like, oh, I did not know about that about him. Like he was used to write about jazz.
Yeah, they were talking all about different people that have played in these bars and
Yeah.
all the rest of it. And you'd imagine that going, "Do you like jazz?" And then someone hands you a copy of Razzle or something. No, not that.
But it's also funny how like Felix gets himself out of trouble, and then later on in the book he doesn't. So it sounds like, oh yeah, Felix be all right. He can get himself. He can
That's
charm.
actually good plotting, though. You see him get out of it and all the rest of it. What we haven't mentioned as well is there's much more of a sequel feeling to this. When you get the M scene, he's just had, if you remember Casino Royale, he had the sort of death to spies thing carved on his hand, and that was in the summer, and he was given to the new year off because this is now like January where the story starts in M's office, and he's had to have a skin graft to replace that, and he's really like can't wait to get it the next sort of SMERSH person after that. So it is a following on from that. It is and yeah, they've worked out that the coins are coming in. As I say, I'm not quite sure how they're monetizing them. Flooding a market with it if you're getting them for free, then someone paying for them is fine. But who's the last person who pays for them? And surely if that's you, you're out of money. So I'm not quite sure how that works. But the bit that's missing from the plot synopsis in front of me is after this, so Solitaire rings him up or calls him
Yeah.
and says, I always remember years ago, Whitney Houston went on The Word, and it was the
Oh wow,
time,
that's going back
yeah, it was
many
the
years.
time where she was dating briefly Eddie Murphy, and Terry Christian from Manchester went, "Has he rung you up?" Right? And she went, "What's rung you up mean?" And he had to explain call. And I remember years ago when I was dating an American, she said, "Well, I know what you mean from context, but we never say that." It's like, okay, you're right.
No, and plus
Uh,
he's quite a broad accent as well, doesn't
Rung
he?
you up. Yeah.
Wrong it up there.
He, yeah. So yeah, I've got to be careful with that because it's very British that. But no, she calls him and just basically begs for his help, doesn't she? And
Yeah.
he's already been granted. He was originally told that it was C and A divisions. So if you remember, it was Section J, wasn't it, in the film for Jamaica or whatever? They're often named after the region
Yeah,
or the
Section A.
country.
Yeah, he has to phone up
Section
and be
A,
like,
Section A is actually the Caribbean, but I'm not sure what that stands for. But anyway,
wasn't it A for America and
no,
C for
A
the
was
Caribbean?
America and C was yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes more sense than Comerica and Arabian, doesn't it? I hadn't thought that through, had I?
But then you have Section H, which is Venezuela, and it's like, huh? Or something like that. But I don't know why that. No, VH, that was it. And I was like, why is that? One nerds let us know. Why does
Perhaps the
VH
people
mean
there are
Venezuela?
very hard. Yeah, no, so Solitaire begs for his help, and the arrangement is that he's got to go down to St. Petersburg, which is it's the one description I don't mind, even though it's the least actiony, because he's quite evocative describing this retirement town as it was at the time. Whether it is now, I don't know. I know Florida is quite popular for retirees, but I don't know if that town specifically is now, but it certainly was then, apparently. And he's got to go down there. He's booked on the train to do it, but they're quite nervous for him because Big's got people everywhere. He's just going to know,
People everywhere.
and he arranges with her to be. He's given a carriage number in his seat. He's told to get in there, lock it, don't leave it, all that sort of thing. And he arranges that she's there before it, and she gives him the slip because although she's a prisoner, it's not literal. She was allowed out to do like a course or a lesson, but it gives her like an hour, and she gives them the slip then. And so they're off to St. Petersburg together at this point, aren't they?
Yeah. Um. So
And
yeah,
this
this
section of the book takes for ages. It takes so long for them to get to St. Petersburg.
what on the train?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Um.
get description of every fucking blade of grass on the way.
um. No, but yeah, back at so we get one of Mr. Big's men go on board. Um. And we
Yeah,
have
he's placed one of the guards or one of the waiters or something is surprisingly ill and replaced at the last minute. Yeah.
and uh one of the I don't recall, but
I
is it
can't remember his name now.
Baldwin? um, he he helps him because he just senses now there's I don't know how
I'm
much he
seeing and
knows.
hearing too much here.
Yeah,
Yeah, just be careful.
yeah. I don't know how much he knows of Mr. Big, or I'm not entirely sure whether
You
he
get the
just
impression Fleming writes this like every black person on the east coast of America is terrified of this guy because they're all dumb enough to be into
yeah.
voodoo. Do you know what I mean? That's the tone of it. I think he knows who Big is, but even if he doesn't, He's just overhearing and seeing stuff. There's people who ain't meant to be there. There's people obviously like either making calls or taking calls or what, however it's working, that are like, and they're focused on that carriage because he doesn't know. I don't think he knows who Bond is. He's just gone to that carriage. In fact, he calls him by his cover name,
Yeah,
which I can't remember what it is, Birch or something.
yeah,
Um, and not James, amazingly. So yeah, they're posing as husband and wife, and he's like, he said, "I can't make love to you because my hand's a bit dodgy, but we'll have a little kiss. We'll have a little kiss,
That's the
right?"
that's the flimsiest excuse I've ever heard.
Yeah, I
he's
know.
always got
It's
a
just
problem with his
like
hand, doesn't he? It's like, oh, no, my pinky.
Oh dear.
make
It's
love to
like
me.
it's like at the end
No,
of
this toe
Octopussy.
is
Kind of like yeah,
what?
the Octopussy movie where it's like I wish you weren't such a what was it infirm state or something that I can't remember the exact line. And he sort of comes through all his casts and he's like you know.
Yeah, can never use that arm again, but at least he got a shag.
No.
Yeah, it's just, but we'll come back to that. They never actually sort of consummate it at this point by any means. I don't know why Fleming is being coy on that because these are books for adults, if you like. And you don't even have to go into detail, but they're not at the moment. There's never this idea that you get in the film that like once she's lost her virginity, if she, well, A, it's never even confirmed she is a virgin, I don't think. Even if it is, there's never a mention that will magically disappear. Um, so yeah, they decide they have to get off. They're warned, and they
Yeah,
basically get off the thing early.
yeah.
They get off it like Jacksonville or something like that, and later.
I wait for the subways and the opposite.
Yeah, I can't quite remember how they get there. I mean, I know they go into a diner, and then we get description of them looking at the fucking menu for ages. And you'd think,
Yeah, they take
I
ages to
honest,
decide what they want, don't they? It's like it's a burger. Come
it,
on.
it, it's more that this feels like a
No,
novella
it's no,
stretched
it's
out. That's
no,
what it is.
it's orange juice, scrambled eggs and toast, and coffee.
Yeah,
You
that
said
was
like
it. That
what?
was it.
Yeah,
Not that hard.
yeah. So we're in Florida. At least the orange juice might be all right.
Yeah, we struggled with all this because I remember going into quite an Americanized diner in this country with my father years ago. And he sat down and he ordered like something with eggs. And she said, sunny side up or over easy. And he went, I don't know, fucking eggs are eggs, aren't they? It's
Oh
just like,
God.
it's like, it's just like, that's just such an Americanism. But yeah, so they later
It sure
find
is eggs
out
is eggs.
when he gets to sort of effectively a safe house stroke guest house in or around St. Petersburg anyway, and which is apparently not far from Tampa. They they're really stunned to see him, and that's the first time we see the real closeness of him and Felix, because Felix just assumed he's dead or captured, because what has happened is after they've got off the train, that carriage they were in was shot up from the outside and then a bomb thrown in.
Yeah,
And it actually killed Baldwin, who ran away as soon as he saw what was happening, but was just killed in the hallway of the train. Um, so that's the whole bit with them. They're now in a safe house in Jacksonville, where their job now is to work out, because they think the coins are coming into there, and they've got to
yeah.
find out how. Now, what leads them to Ouroboros?
Ooh, I don't know. I've
I
forgotten.
can't remember what made them go there.
No.
Was it to hide out? Because
I don't remember. They found out Solitaire gets captured while they're in there. But yeah, I can't remember why, but they go there. Oh, there's a guy known as the Robber that they
yeah,
think is part of the train, and that's where a chain, and that's where he is, and
That
he's
was
the
it.
guy who brings them.
I mean, you're not really sort of like keeping your note to
He might have
authorities
been
when
French. It might have been Robert, right?
Oh, I wonder what he does then.
Yeah. Well, it's like that soft porn actress Chesty Morgan. It's like, well, what else was she going to do? Um, but yeah, they turn up and talk to him, and he's just distinctly unwelcoming. Sort of fires his gun at a bird to sort of warn them, if you like, and which makes me laugh because Felix goes, "We ought to report that." It's like, yeah, all right. So they leave, get back,
The problem
find.
is though, even though it's nothing like this, I just think of License to Kill with a crest, just go like, and your name is goodbye,
Yeah,
that kind of thing. I just got to the
it
like,
is. It is a little bit like that. And I mean, Milton Crest is literally a character in one of the short
yeah,
stories we'll get to down the line.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, I can't remember all the details now. Um, I'm trying to remember that story was about a fish specifically, but yeah. Anyway, we'll get to it. But
Shark?
yeah,
No.
he ends up. No, 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 no. I'm not talking about that. I get confused between stories because I think it's Quantum of Solace. It's
Oh,
one of the stories is
either that or
Bond just being
Hildebrand, one of
told
the two, isn't it?
it's the Hildebrand rarity. That's it. Because the other one is the other short story. Was it Quantum of Solace? I can't remember. There was a short story that was just Bond being told the story of a woman's affair, and that was really
I don't
different
think it's
and
Quantum
really
of
straight,
Solace.
and that was really good. But anyway, Hildebrand Rarity was all right as I remember. Um, but yeah, so they go back. Solitaire's been taken, and I can't remember. Oh, that was it. They get back, and the lady goes, none of that playing your music. You've just had some music delivered, and it was massive or something. I don't even know what that means, but it was an excuse to get in the house. Solitaire's taken. They know she hasn't gone willingly because she's kicked her bag under the bed. And then what next? Next is I'm trying to think. Don't they?
but basically like they're both flight. Basically they're eating. They like have like a meal and they drink quite solemnly. Bond's a bit upset.
Mm.
He's like a
Well, I
bit,
can't. Yeah.
a bit down about it. I think afterwards.
I was hoping for a cuddle tonight.
I think then Leiter goes by himself. He like leaves early to
Mm,
go sort of basically sort of sees the robber by himself.
mm. Yeah. Uh, Lighter does, yeah, because basically James just goes to bed,
Yeah,
gets up the next day, is aware that like the bed, he goes in to see Felix. Felix's bed has not been slept in, and he just thinks, oh, he fell asleep downstairs. We were drinking whiskey or whatever. Um, and then he finds. Now, I've only, as I say, when I say I've only read it once, I've read it twice, but I missed the detail today. I can't remember where he finds him, but he finds him mauled, bit like Felix in the film, with he disagreed with something that ate
yeah.
him, and he ends up losing part of a leg,
He
if
gets
not
a
all of
phone
it.
call from a hospital, so he goes to hospital, and it's like, no,
Right, that's the
we
bit
don't
I
have a
missed.
doctor, we don't have a patient there, like with that name. So he goes like, right, something's up. He goes back, then he finds. So the
Right,
officers, yeah.
right, okay.
So I think
So
they, yeah,
he's lost an arm and about half of a leg. At the end, they're almost suggesting they had to get rid of the rest of it. I'm not really sure. It doesn't matter. Um, he's not gurning around and like laughing at the end like he is in the film, but they although he's a bit more upbeat. Um, so Bond goes back to sort of find out what's going on, and again, this isn't a bad action sequence in terms of the fight, but him and Robert have a fight once. James has noticed he's worked out that there's these like I can't remember what they are now, poison eels or something very
mm,
dangerous in a tank, and at the bottom there's mud, and under that there's like coins, and they've worked out they can. He looks at the number of tanks and he goes, each shipment here is about $150,000, which would have been massive then. And he's caught at the same time. And he works out what has happened to Felix. He's been dropped into the shark tank there. He escapes it, big fight, um, and forces the details out of Robert as to where she is, where
yeah,
Solitaire is, and then I think he kills him, doesn't he? He lets him die.
yeah. So he said, oh, it was kind of like he didn't mean to fall in. It just happened. You know, we try to help him, honest. And then
Yeah,
yeah, Bond like observes and figures no, that can't have happened that way.
no,
So he just
no.
says, it's like no.
Yeah.
And he just kicks him in. You earned it.
Yeah,
You
I
killed
offered him a
someone.
You give
cigarette,
it,
and
old
he leant
buddy.
forward to get it, and it was too heavy for him. And um, I find the last act of the film quite force of habit, guys. I find this last bit quite long-winded and boring as well. And again, plot overall fine, but I almost feel like this is a novella that's stretched out with far too much description. But I mean, it's not a long book anyway. It's most Flemings, it's like I don't know, 250 pages, something like that, 230. But we've just got him that we know that he goes to see Strangways, who we know from the film version of Doctor No, in Jamaica, and they understand that Big is on an island just off Jamaica, and no one goes there because of his voodoo reputation. And Strangways sort of fills him in on the details of how that island came to be taken, and they're pretty sure that's where the big sort of pirate haul was found. And Bond works to sort of go out there. He works with Quarrel for the week to plan it all out. He's going to go out to this ship that's doing all the smuggling, stick a limpet mine on it, swim in excruciating detail through barracudas and sharks, and he trains for a week, guys. That's how you get in top physical shape. And by the end of the week, right, he can run
He
two
doesn't he
miles,
doesn't drink and he gets sunburnt.
Yeah, I like the description that like he smokes 10 a day and he's hard.
and he's hard. So
Like what
yeah,
does that mean? Is he tough?
I think
Is he
no,
not?
it means like muscled, no fat. It just means
Yeah,
like
he's
firm.
carved out of wood.
It doesn't mean a stiffy. All right.
I,
Um,
I did laugh a little bit. I was like,
although
Fleming,
I
what do
would
you
have
mean?
liked if in the final act of one of these films Bond had an irrepressible erection, just to, but it never be alluded to, just to see what like critics would make of it.
I think the
Um,
publishers wouldn't have agreed.
and I haven't really got a lot to
I've
add here,
got
except
I've got all the gadgets and I know how to use them.
I know how to use them.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
except yeah. Although unlike Craig, we have seen what his little finger does, and it's not very much, right? So yeah, there's a lot of description around that. His week of heavy training and only 70 cigarettes in total. And then he swims over to the island. That's in a lot of detail. He manages to get the limpet mine onto the um, boat. I'm not quite sure how that's activated in the end. I don't know quite how
It's a
limpet mines
fuse, I
work.
think. He
Is it?
mentioned
Well,
he, I'm
yeah,
assuming it was a
okay.
fuse because he talks to Quali. He's like if there's two different fuses, one
Right. Yeah, I did miss
and
that detail. I did miss that detail.
one for like short
Yeah.
of your
So yeah,
stuff.
he gets out, he's captured. Some more talk about Domino's breasts, and yeah, and then we go into a set piece from For Your Eyes Only. So
Yeah.
if you remember the film For Your Eyes Only, obviously you two do. I mean, anyone listening, Roger and Melina, James and Melina. The actor Roger Moore is tied to the character of, and they're going to be sort of dragged over a
Yeah,
load
sort of
of
kill
rocks
horde
by
pretty
boat.
much. I think yeah, I said at the top of the show like this scene kind of was really informed when it came to Fiore's only pretty much. Sort of a lot of it comes from there. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely, and yeah, it it's not bad. That's actually not a bad sequence at all. There's fear in him, which you don't see a lot of. I can't say he's a fully rounded out character, but there's a little bit more there. And if it wasn't for the fact, and I laughed at it, and it is the Playboy's territory, bad luck, you loved her. It's like all the way through the book, he's
but look, you fell in
developing
love.
he's developing some sort of like regard for her, and he can't wait to be with her, and all the rest of it. And at the end, he's like, "Well, I can't shag you, and I've only got a fortnight anyway." And it's just like at this point, it's building up for not necessarily romance, but they nearly died together. But they don't. They're dragged along, and just as they're only a few feet from the sort of coral they're going to be pulled over, the rope that's pulling them goes slack because the ship has exploded. And of
It,
course,
it, it becomes a bit of a time like sort of like so it's like right I know I've got the bomb on the boat. That's
right.
gonna happen.
But is it going to happen before I hit that?
Yeah. Or
He's
yeah.
also he's also already bleeding from the arm from when
Yeah.
he did all that and was chased. So there's already a bit of blood in the water. There's now been a big explosion, and there's barracuda and shark everywhere. And Big is basically eaten as he tries to sort of get towards them. And that's
Yeah.
really it. Then he gets 2 weeks leave to having been told his hand is now fixed. He goes, I can't make love to you because of my hand. Do we think you might have a micro penis? I don't
Well, I
know.
mean, I just did suggest so.
It reminded me, not for the second time in the 10 years of this show, And there may be one listener who remembers the reference. For the second time, it made me think of Onslow from Keeping Up Experiences, because and Jack Duckworth, they both spent their lives trying to avoid sex with their wives. There's two lines in British humour. It's either Sid James, where they're absolutely insatiable, or they're a put upon married man who will do anything to avoid it. And Bond is desperate not to. He spends all the time going, God, I'd love to make love to her. And when he gets an opportunity, he goes, my hand hurts. And it's not even explained why. Because there are ways where you can keep one hand relatively free, I'd have thought.
It just constantly reminds me of that bit in Alan Partridge where he's like finally gets porn on the TV. It's all
Yeah.
banged up.
And then his hand doesn't work.
He looks at his hand and he goes, oh.
I'm Alan Partridge, season 1. Anyone listening, folks? It's only 6 episodes. 1997. Steve Coogan. It's a very famous character now. Just read a little bio of the character up to that point. You'll get the point. He's like a failed TV presenter living in a hotel, and he keeps getting porn on his bill, but claiming it's by accident because the TV's really difficult.
Yeah,
and yeah. That's all I've got to say about this book, really. I just think it's okay. I liked it more this time because I got my big objections out the way at the start, because I knew I would have to tonight.
yeah.
I can't be an hour in going, and then he said the N-word, and it's like, yeah, okay, we know that's in it, Dave. What do you think of the book in context? And in context, it's all right, but far from finding it this fast-paced ride like you, and it may be because I accepted it with Casino Royale because I know it was more psychological and largely set in a casino. So, and I knew, and it feels short as well. This book just had lots of nothingness. Read a plot synopsis. It's about 4 major things, and that's it. But it's all right. I do think our next book from memory is going to be a hell of a lot better. It uses a title but it's a totally different plot.
Yeah,
And
it's a bit
then we'll
different,
get
isn't
in.
it?
I know. And then we're going to get in. And then I think it could be Diamonds Are Forever, which I remember not liking. And then we get into a run of the ones you've got, like From Russia with Love, and then Doctor No, and then Goldfinger. And they are all somewhat faithful.
I think it does sort of make it a bit easier, especially because from our point of view, we sort of came to the films first, and we are like, as a podcast, we have reviewed all the films first. So going back for us and reading the books, perhaps it is easier. Not because like we're snobs or we
Only with
dislike
the
the books for any
faithful
reason,
ones.
but just
Only
just
with the
because,
faithful ones.
yeah, the ones that are perhaps a bit more. I mean, this way you can kind of see like how
The
aspects
Spy
of
Who
it
Loved Me is not even close, is it?
are totally completely different, utterly different.
Yeah.
I mean, there are maybe some slivers, but it's from
I
a
can't
totally
even
different
think of
viewpoint.
slivers. At least in this, there are some setting
But
similarities,
Bond
and
appears
there's some
third of the way
same names.
through.
Yeah, and it's read by Rosamund Pike for obvious reasons. It's all the
Mm.
books are very from. I did wonder when I read this book today, because it occurred to me, and it's obvious once you realise this, but I hadn't thought about it, is that all the books are from Bond's perspective, but you don't get scenes where he's not there, or at least not in these early books. So I wondered how are they
You
going?
do in this one. You do like
Where?
this.
Mm.
In,
Where?
um, there was the stuff that happens
When
with
he's
Mr.
talking to the
Big.
villain.
Yeah, the stuff with just Mr. Big. The there's the stuff where he describes
There's
the
a few calls and stuff, but generally
yeah
speaking, action that moves it forward. What I'm saying
yeah.
is,
It mostly is done from his point of view. Yeah,
what I'm trying to say is, I'm not saying it's an immutable rule, but once I realised that, like, judging by the voice this is in, how are they going to cover Felix's death? Are we actually going to see it, or is he going to get the story afterwards? And obviously, it's the latter. And yeah, obviously, we'll get to books later on where there are scenes he's not in. But yeah, that's it from me on this book. Sounds like you both quite like it.
yeah. I did. I mean, yeah, only for first time. For me, so second Fleming. So I will be doing them in order. But no, I quite enjoyed it. I quite enjoyed it. It was quite like a fun novel. Yeah, I think as you've already said, Dave, the description sometimes does bog it down a, a little bit when they were like having talks about like how people talking in a bar and you got Roy Kinnear going like doing jive
They're
talk.
overhearing two people talking at another desk, a table, like booth.
and
Like,
and again, he's trying to build atmosphere. But yeah,
mm.
having it's that proper audiobook thing where you've got like the actor trying to do the voice, and it's just I had
This
it.
is it. I feel like he drew the short straw. He's got to use the most offensive racial term at least 2 or 3 times. And he has to use the slightly, I guess, less offensive, but still we don't use it anymore term multiple times. Then he's got to do American voices, women's voices, and stuff like that. And he signed on to it. It was his choice, but it's like, God, of all the ones you got, you know what I mean? You haven't even got one of the more sort of beloved. I mean, if I'm looking at the list of books now to anyone who doesn't know this, because everyone knows Casino Royale's the first, unless you've literally only seen the films. And then it's this, and then it's Moonraker, which is nothing like the film in any way, shape, or form. The film is only called Moonraker because the
There's
word moon is
some
in it.
similarities, but yeah, it's broadly
Well,
different.
the character names, it's not a lot different. There's a Hugo Drax in it, but he's not
Yeah,
as
no, he's
ludicrous
pretty
as,
different, but
but
kind of there's sort of
yeah,
some similarities. But yeah,
some
again, it's like
similarities.
obviously it's
Then there's
broadly set in the UK as well, which is the
then
major
there's
difference.
Diamonds Are Forever, which I remember not liking. But again, I've only read that one once. From Russia with Love was probably my favourite book. Majesties might be my favourite film, but From Russia with Love on first read through, it was like the film with a few extra
I remember
like
Majesty's
character
book being quite
details.
good, although
I remember it being good. That one's read by David Tennant as well, I think.
oh,
But
might have to listen to that.
so you got From Russia with Love, then you got Doctor No. So at the start of the film Doctor No, when he says that Beretta again, you spent 6 months in traction
Umbrella.
last year. Well, that is because of what happened to him at the end of the From Russia with Love book. Then you got Goldfinger, which I remember really, really liking. And then For Your Eyes Only short stories, isn't it? Thunderball, I barely remember, other than its similarities to the film, but I can't remember how much I liked it. The Spy Who Loved Me was weird in a good way. On Her Majesty's Secret Service, I don't know. It's because I love the film so much. I need to read that again. Then you got You Only Live Twice, which again, there's a little bit of No Time to Die in it, and so on, and maybe the
Yeah, in
pre-title
regard to
of
Dr. Shatterhand, though, I think that's pretty much it. But guys, I can highly recommend. They'll probably all be on YouTube as well. The BBC Radio 4 dramas as well, starring Toby
Toby
Jones,
Stevens.
not Toby Jones, Toby Stevens. Thank
Goes
you.
to
Stevens done Gustav Graves as Bond.
yeah.
He's perhaps better Bond than he was a Bond villain.
And then, sorry, the last two, just quickly. The last full-length novel was The Man with the Golden Gun that was published posthumously. And then you've got Octopussy and the Living Daylights, which is a selection of short stories, as it is.
Yep.
As is, there was one of
They
the
are
other
kind of
ones as well.
broadly, well, again, they are
Oh,
a
For
little
Your
bit
Eyes
different.
Only was as well. And they're just totally different. They are totally different from the most part. I would say the first three films have huge overlaps with their books.
Yeah, but you can see how some
Thunderball as
do
well.
feed into the films.
Yeah, You Only Live Twice, not at all, apart from its setting.
Mm,
On Her Majesty's Secret Service, really close. And then after
mm,
that, it's token bits and names and bits from
mm,
stories repurposed. It's not
mm,
that. It's not. Well, I mean, we'll talk about it when we get there. You
mm.
can disagree with me. You can disagree with me. It's all right. But
That's I'll just be facetious.
You Only Live Twice isn't that similar, in my opinion. But
No.
um, but yeah. So
But yeah,
that's
it's good that you can kind
that's
of
the one
see
to go
like
for.
how aspects of a novel are kind of are sort of woven in. Somebody posted recently, but what Dust Has Settled, no Time to Die, would you reckon? And I say, well, there are aspects of Fleming in there, which is really good. It's good to see like the chat hand and that sort of aspect. It doesn't make it any good.
I mean, if I
But it's great to see that kind of element really brought back into Bond as well. It's been away for a while,
yeah.
so
I mean, I must say, if I just look at that list of books and I take out the short stories and the ones I don't remember so well, I can still count 7 books I definitely like more than the one we've done tonight. But that doesn't make it bad. And I think once you take the attitudes out of your thinking, it's not one of the worst. I'd love to see. I can't wait to see. I'm not going to jump Moonraker to do it, but I can't wait to do Diamonds Are Forever because I remember hating the book as much as I hated the film.
yeah, that's not, to be honest, that's not one I remember enjoying anyway. It's just very sleazy. But Chris, because you're reading them all for the first time, aren't you?
Yeah.
How
So
would you compare? Obviously, if you can compare, where would you rank this one along with Casino? Are you doing a running ranking or
well, I mean,
second?
a ranking of two.
Ranking of two. This
uh,
comes second.
yes.
Okay.
This comes second so far. Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's
But
interesting. Yeah, definitely.
but it's a different type of thing. This one is a bit more like
Yeah,
action
they're
type of
sort of
thing.
different beasts, aren't they?
Yeah, so
It manages to be somewhat simultaneously far deeper and far shallower. In that it does a bit of relationship work and a bit of character work in it, but like all his motivations, apart from the Felix bit, is a bit shallower. It's a little bit less classy. The action's sort of less attached to emotions, with the exception of the revengefully lighter bit. It's fine. So, but
It's
this
fine.
this was actually a change to our plan, wasn't it? Because we were going to do Spellbound, was it?
Yeah, we were going to go back into Hitchcock, but we decided, oh no, let's do the books, and then let's do something else, and then we'll do Hitchcock. So yeah, we've got something else coming up our sleeve before we go back into Hitchcock. So all will be revealed in due time.
I'm hoping it's going to be a lot of fun because what we got in mind, it is a film. I may even purchase a copy of it because it will be a commentary, and that's all we're telling you.
Yeah.
That is all we're telling you because I've never seen it, so I may have to see it. I know its reputation though, and it's not a good
One
reputation.
thing I will say, have a glass of champagne at the ready.
Yeah, and there are some Bond links in it, both tangentially and directly. But that's it. No guessing anyone. As for me, you can find me at the Pasty Kid 1976 on Twitter, at the Pasty Kid on Blue Sky, though I don't use it that often. And yeah, our emails and socials you know about. Becca.
Oh gosh, yes. So you can find us across on socials. Just type in "Do you expect us to talk?" You'll find us on there. We rarely on Twitter X, whatever it is these days. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on
No, we're
YouTube.
always posting little bits on X. You do
Definitely, I
most of it
must get
as you
onto
do.
Blue Sky more often. Although I've randomly just been
It's
taken off
it's just the updates. No, no. The point is, I opened it because there looked like there was going to be a mass exodus at the
Exodus of
one time,
X.
and the X. It's like Brexit, isn't it? The exodus. Um, at one point, so I just got one set up just in case. Frankly, whatever I think of Musk or anything like that, the practicality is everyone's on X. And if you want to find something else, something out, I always remember when we found out about like Ryan Giggs' super injunction and Elton John's super injunction and stuff like that.
it's what got me on Twitter. That thing.
Well,
I
to
was
be
like,
to be fair, like back in the day, it did used to be like for me certainly it was a really good news outlet, but now perhaps not so much.
If everyone was on both tools, it's almost quicker to find people on the other one, but X is where you find out anything. And and I just think like morally, I wouldn't mind giving it up, but none of the replacements, even though we've got people who listen to this and friends of ours on Facebook who've either gone off to that or Threads, and full respect to you for doing it. I get the moral imperative to do that, but I'm sorry, I'm just governed by practicalities, which is it's still X. Nothing else has reached a critical mass yet. But we do put updates on there. We do put our trailers on there. We do put our shows on there. We do put when we're recording. What we probably don't do, which Becca does quite a lot on X, is like, oh, this is showing on TV today. We reviewed that. Here's a link.
yeah,
You
It's
know,
a bit random, but I thought, oh, what else can we do to kind of draw people in? But anyway, yes, you can find us on Facebook, The Expected Talk. You can find us on Twitter X at Expected Talk. You can find us primarily on YouTube, where we put our shows in, type in Do You Expect Us to Talk. You can find us basically wherever you get your podcasts, Podbean, Podbay. The only thing is we're not on obviously Google, Amazon, for
is
example.
Podbay a
But
thing, or have you just made that up?
no, Podbay it was a thing. Was a thing. Anyway, Podbean is where you can find us. We do live on YouTube. Obviously, audio only, no videos just yet. Thank you very much. Apple Podcasts as well. You can find us there. Basically, wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you'll find us. Wherever you, on whichever platform you do listen to us, don't forget to please kindly give us a 5-star glowing review. Helps us to rank higher and attract more listeners. Thank you very much. If you want to get in touch as well, you can always drop us an email. It's expectedtalk@gmail.com. If you just want to say hi, or if there's a particular movie series which you quite like and you haven't seen us cancel.
Even after all these years, if you still feel strongly about banging Sally Field, send us an email.
She might have regrets about that now. But yeah, if there's a particular movie or series you'd like us to cover that we haven't already, or in the past we've done Patreon as well, like we've covered a particular series, and then people have kindly donated some money our way, and we've donated it to a charity. If there's anything you'd like to do that in that sort of vein again, please do get in touch with us. Happy to take your suggestions, and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, we've
yeah.
done we've done we've done shows for charity before. We don't expect a huge amount of money for them, but we do have our price, if you like, and it would be a special thing, but it
Yeah, some
wouldn't
people
go
have
in our
kindly donated,
pockets.
and then we pass on donations to like Mind, for
Yeah,
example.
yeah, we just pick a different charity every time. I think I think the going rate is like it's certainly not three figures, put it that way,
No.
in GB pounds, but it's not much less than. But it would go to charity. I think once we were paid to do one, and we just said, "Oh, go on then."
We're very
All
cheap.
right, Chris, what about you?
Yeah, funny you just mentioned that banging Sellafield because I watched that
You
the other
just did?
day.
You
Oh,
just
really?
oh, you came across the record. You came across it. What you
Yeah.
mean? You came across us saying about that? Did you?
No, I watched Mrs. Doubtfire on Disney Plus. That's what
And
I
you
Oh,
thought
really?
about it, and you thought, well,
No, I watched the film that you're referencing, Dave.
the film I'm referencing.
Yeah.
Oh.
No,
All right.
nothing that exciting. No,
Hello,
All right.
dears. One
but
for two.
the thing that struck me is how much like could you reckon like, oh, right, Pierce Brosnan's playing like the slime ball guy trying to get in, like, but he's not. He's actually generally like
No, he's fine. He's all right.
he's not done anything wrong, and yet he's just forgotten about afterwards. It's like, all right, okay. Um, but yeah,
He's really good in it, though, isn't he?
he,
Yeah.
he is, but just playing like the nice guy who you expecting to be a wronger,
I've
but he
always
isn't.
found him. I mean, it's funny. He's done a couple of really good darker performances, but fundamentally, he's good at light.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's pretty funny in it. He's a really good foil for Robin Williams, I think.
but yeah. So I just thought, I thought I'd mention it. But also, so we want to talk about the audiobooks. There are another string of audiobooks, recent ones with new with newer people
They
reading them.
do update them now and again because I went on a holiday about 15 years ago and I listened to Casino Royale, and back then it was voiced by Rufus Sewell. So
Oh, okay.
it does happen now and again that they just
Yeah,
do a
they
new
do new
run of them with a
actors.
fresher voice, you know. So, and
Yeah.
the versions we're looking at are a good few years old now. I mean, they're not super old in that,
No,
like,
no.
but like, yeah, yeah.
So you got Richard Armitage does Casino Royale, but a lot of but about 50% of them
I'm
are
pretty
of
sure Kenneth Branagh does one as well, but I can't remember
Yeah,
which
I think
one.
he does one.
Man of the
Richard
Golden Gun.
Armitage would be quite good. I wish he'd been involved with the Bond, so I'm kind of glad that he's
Yeah.
doing the audiobooks.
Obviously, as I said, Rosamund Pike does one of them. David Tennant does one of them. If I sat here and thought about it long enough, which I'm
John
not going
Coleslaw
to,
does one of the new ones. John
right?
Oh,
Coleslaw.
does he? I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
John Coleslaw.
Oh, sure.
Does he work with Jamie Olive Oil? Uh,
With Max von Glockenspiel.
And Simon
Right.
Mayonnaise.
no offense, folks, though, but Chris, tell people where you live online so we can get the fuck out of here.
Okay, sorry. So you can find me at Cinema Trucks on Twitter. You can find all the old episodes on Podbean. They're all there. Just if you just search. Yeah, we've covered lots of series. So any suggestions, just let us know.
And we do take them seriously,
Yeah,
unless they're
because
really stupid. Because I'm sorry.
or we just don't want to.
Are you going to do Police Academy, the full series? I mean, we
I
had a
did
bit
actually
of a
see
laugh.
that. There's a new box set which I spotted today and was like, ooh, but no,
Well,
I declined.
the thing is, right? If there'd been three of them and we did it Austin Powers style as a commentary, yeah.
It'd be all
Well,
right.
I can't honestly review seven Police
I think
Academy
there are
films.
7 films or something, aren't there?
They're
It's
too
just a bit too
similar.
much.
They're too similar to each
And
other.
then Jones does a funny voice. And
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
and then she
Bobcat Goldthwait
shouts,
has a
Hooks
squeaky
gets
voice.
really angry, and they walk into this bar, right? You'll never guess.
It's the same damn film.
All right. Thanks for your company tonight, folks. We shall return, or do you expect us to talk? We'll return with, well, it's a mystery.
Mystery commentary coming soon.
Recording now.